have a special addition to this episode of We Heart Hater. It's very rare that new Hater news drops the same week we are going to upload the podcast. So this Tuesday dropped the new Cat in the Hat trailer, Bill Hader, who is voicing the Cat in the Hat. I personally am excited for this because, well, of course, Bill Hader, but shall we get started?
Yes, we shall. I'm excited to go into this completely blind.
I love that they have his hat as the balloon, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Takes you to a new world.
Getting the vibe that you probably shouldn't be opening this.
What makes you say
that? That. Do not open.
Come on, that's just a suggestion.
Stop. Stop it. No. Don't!
Opening the smallest box.
Welcome back to the Institute for the Institution of Imagination and Inspiration, LLC.
Hey, giraffe with a crab. Pig in a wig. Hi, bug in a mug. Yak with a pack. Ron.
I heard the cat lost 3 giraffes on his last mission.
Popcorn! Actually, it was 5. Today is going to be the best day ever! Go to the montage. Let's light it up.
Cat?
Cat!
Cat in the Hat, you have gone too far.
Carlo
You say
Esposito.
toot fart?
I did not. I said too far.
Toot fart?
Too far.
I heard toot fart again. So, I'm just gonna leave some things here. Okay, bye.
Thing 3. And a lot of other things. Now, as you can probably imagine online, it's been getting a lot of comparisons with, of course, the Mike Myers version. But after that happened, the estate of Dr. Seuss basically refused to allow any further live-action iterations of Dr. Seuss material. So anything you see for the future is going to be animated. The other comments I've seen online is that they're going to be just another retread of the book, but no, this actually takes place immediately after the book.
So it's a legacy sequel in some sense.
Yes. From what I've been reading in the press is what they're doing is so there's a question of after the Cat in the Hat leaves, what he does, where does he go? Yes, it does have a bit of a Monsters Inc. vibe, but I like the different iterations of the Cat in the Hat and the Bug in the Mug, and at the end where there's many, many things.
Yeah, it was a cute trailer. I like the Monsters Inc. by way of Looney Tunes vibe I got from it. If the bar does start at Mike Myers, there's nowhere to really go but up, and I might actually see it, and I could have sworn I heard Andy Samberg's voice in there somewhere.
No. The cast is Bill Hader as the Cat in the Hat, Xochitl Gomez as Gabby, a teenage girl, Tiago Martinez as Sebastian, Gabby's younger brother, Matt Berry as The Fish, America Ferrera as Gabby and Sebastian's mother, Giancarlo Esposito as Mr. Hoojboom, Quentin Brunson is Sherry, who is someone who works in human resources, is apparently a good friend to the cat. And in addition, there's Bone Yang, Paula Pell, and Titus Burgess having cast in undisclosed roles. We did hear Bone Yang in the trailer, but that character so far does not have a name. My personal favorite bit is, talking about the 3 giraffes, it was 5. If you didn't happen to notice, when he walks away, his hands, at least his gloves, are still there.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a cute bit. And hey, casting Gus Fring in a Dr. Seuss adaptation for kids. That's a bold move. Let's hope no one gets half their face blown off. But I like it. It's I can't imagine when I'd see it, but it's something I'd keep an eye out for.
Well, I'm gonna be there opening day. That's for sure. Because I just can't wait to see it. No, it is not a retread of the book. Yes, we have the things, but you see, the things have expanded, and there is a rumor that there's going to be a movie for the things. So we don't know where Thing 2 is, or Jonathan, as he's now known.
So it's like they're kind of treating the things like they're Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty. Just clones that come from a box.
Well, probably minion, but more minions is probably the more adept kind of.
Yeah, of course.
But I do like the variety that there's different animals with different things, because from apparently where he gets all his ability is his hat. Plot as I know it is, so the Cat in the Hat comes back from his latest mission, and he's being framed for something going wrong. And so he has to find out basically who's framing him, because if he doesn't, he'll lose his hat and lose his job.
Deep into the Cat in the Hat lore on this one. I like it.
Yes. Back when the book was written originally, no one really used pepper spray, but having this random big cat come into your place, and just the pepper spray was a nice surprise, but it does make sense. All right, so now that we have that, we will move on to our new episode,
which you'll be listening to right now.
Hi, this is Bill Hader.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bill Hader.
Hello and welcome back to episode 14 of We Heart Hater. I am Deej Barons, your Hater historian.
And I'm your co-host, Casey Killingsworth.
And today we're trying a bit of an experiment. I love lists. And the one thing online that is the pinnacle of making lists is Watch Mojo, which is actually a Canadian company. There is one nitpick I do have about reaction videos or list videos, especially Watch Mojo, is in the comment section. So many people saying, why are you talking over all the clips? Have you never seen a top 10 before? Have you never seen a list video before? A couple reasons for that. One, copyright. Also, just the fact that this is not just presenting in full the top 10 things to talk about. It's discussion. It's reacting. Because that's what this kind of video is.
True.
Yeah. So it's like learn a thing. Learn a book, as the girl you don't want to have a conversation with would actually say. So the one list we're going to cover today to start off with is Top 10 Times Bill Hader Was Awesome.
For this list, we'll be looking at this Prince of Comedy's most hilarious and heartwarming media moments. Please note, we will be excluding any television and film roles because those already have a list of their own. And be sure to leave your favorite Bill Hader moments in the comments below. All right, let's get to it.
Number 10, Point Pleasant Police Department, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. What do you get when you combine two SNL alums known for breaking character? A fake cop drama and a buffet filled with Pepsi, pudding, and Perrier? A spluttering good time, that's what.
Morning, Preston. Morning, Pete. You in pain? Your palm's covered in plaster.
This recurring Tonight Show sketch sees host Jimmy Fallon and one of his guests, in this case Bill Hader, play out a scene from the made-up TV show Point Pleasant Police Department.
Looks like a week's pretty packed. Put it right in.
Basically, the two detectives argue while spitting their beverages and bits of food on each other.
Redfin, Point Pleasant Police Department, and we speak politely to our peers.
Not only is it obvious the two are having a blast, but also, in true Hader fashion, we hear the comedian sincerely apologize as he's dousing Fallon's face in chocolate pudding and sparkling water.
Very perceptive, Pete. So sorry, man.
Now that's some contagious and lighthearted fun.
That I've gone to on occasion when I really need a good laugh. This is a continuous series on The Tonight Show. They've done it with Jake Gyllenhaal, Kevin James, and a few other people. The way they construct this is because they're at the interview desk, and then they play the same sort of intro, so that gives them time to get into costume to get to the set. And then they play that again, and then they're back at the desk. Of course, each time they have more stuff left over on them. Don't know what it is with Bill, but he loves the spit take. The fighting with the mustache, always funny. No matter any kind of thing, someone's losing their mustache. It's perfectly awesome. There's this one point where he's just preparing to do something big, turns the audience, so waggles his eyebrows a little bit. So it's just like, okay, I'm just waiting. We're going to get him. He ends up going over to Steve Higgins and basically anointing him with chocolate pudding.
I don't know that I would have included this on my list if I were putting it together. It's just kind of a cheap, recurring sketch Fallon did. It's an excuse for people to just say a bunch of P words with their mouths full. They can spit food and drink on each other, and really seems like the type of thing that can really only be played the same way from guest to guest with little room for unique variants, which is, my first reaction to seeing this, but seeing it a second time with Deej, I actually chuckled a bit. I did like the mustache falling off and him literally breaking character just to apologize to Jimmy. I did like how at one point, instead of just doing a legit spit take, he just sort of let Pepsi fall out of his mouth.
Yeah, and actually, if you notice, there's the commenting on his hand being covered in plaster. That is because a injury, his ring got caught on the counter while he was falling and it ripped his finger. This type of injury often results in amputation, but Fallon's doctors were actually able to save his finger with a microsurgery using a vein from his foot to replace the damaged one there. Another one I will counter to this, as far as another great talk show appearance, is the Real Scary Stories with Bill Hader and Cara Delevingne. And that's, of course, where we get the classic line of, "Oil me up, Daddy. It's dinner time, and I'm a little soup boy. Chompa chompa." Number 9.
Actor activity impressions. The Ellen DeGeneres Show. It's no secret that Bill Hader has a superb talent for mimicry, mostly cultivated from his sketch comedy days. So, it came as no surprise that he would nail Ellen's impression game without a hitch.
Puff the magic dragon huffed and puffed and then kept puffing.
Picked at random, Hader had to perform different celebrities doing random activities, from Jack Nicholson running a lemonade stand.
And if you don't order a lemonade from me, you're gonna go right to hell.
Or Harry Styles and a personal trainer.
No, you could put more on than that. No, go ahead. You could put more on there. No, do it.
To John Oliver at a hip-hop concert.
Please don't do that. Oh, ouch. Oh, please. I can't jump that high in the air, but I can hold one hand like this. I can do that if you can see me. Kendrick.
My favorite of that is the very first one with Seth Rogen. Because we know he's worked with Seth several times, and he does a killer Seth Rogen impression. Be able to think and go straight to Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah, I like this one a lot better. I mean, it deserves its spot on this list. If you can get past the Ellen of it all, which you probably can, it's a fun showcase for new impressions of Bill's that may not have made it to air on SNL. His Seth Rogen does get a laugh, but his Nicholson and his Harry Styles and John Oliver were his Harry Styles kind of sounds like John Lennon a bit, but I mean, how else could you really do a Harry Styles impression but by just a disaffected British accent? Is John Oliver's a little bit more clipped and more Kermit-esque than the real John Oliver is, but it works. It's material and performance that really sell it.
Yes, well, because it's so random, he doesn't know which person he's getting and what the activity is. Very similar to something like Jimmy Fallon's Wheel of Musical Impressions.
Maybe they pitch this bit to her, and she says what impression she agrees to do, but she doesn't know what song she's going to sing or what style.
Yes, these are impressions we know you can do. On to number 8.
New York accent impressions. Deezus and Mero. If you can make 2 Bronx natives double over in laughter with a couple of hilariously accurate NYC accents, then your name must be Bill Hader.
You got like some girl doing all your stunts?
Although the comedian no longer resides in the Big Apple, his impressions are far from rusty. as proven during his appearance on Deezus and Mero.
I was just like looking at movies because there's all these movies you couldn't get in Tulsa, and I was like, oh, I was looking, and the guy behind the counter went, yo, Stretch, you gonna rent anything?
Not only that, but the trio seemed to be having a blast riffing off each other, goofing around with different jokes and voices. They almost abandoned the interview questions entirely.
Folding in on itself, the table's like,
That's a serious question, Bill.
Yeah?
What is your artistic process like?
Oh,
It seems that no matter where Bill Hader gets a case of the giggles, good times and great energy are sure to follow.
Deej and Mero are a comedy duo who had a talk show on Showtime. Bill made 2 appearances, both in 2008, promoting season 1 of Barry, and 2019, promoting season 2 of Barry. We all know my love for Jersey Bill, but also New York Bill is another favorite, especially when he's relating how cab drivers will just randomly...
I was walking with my in-laws once, and I was walking with my in-laws, and a cab pulled up, and this guy pulled the window down, and he went, hey, SNL, you and your show suck, I was with my in-laws, and I said it was a guy who worked at the show. I was like, oh, that's Robbie. That's Robbie. He's playing a little joke.
I like it. The biggest insult there is, hey, yes, SNL.
Yeah, that's what I get.
You got a name.
Yeah, even when they like the show, they're like, hey, SNL, that was great last night. Yeah, they never open their eyes. Hey. No.
Gage has to use his voice, and he actually does have a pretty good discussion with them, so they do play well off each other. And I've seen both interviews, and I believe for the first one they did, there's an extended version as well.
I think this deserves its spot on the list for being a very loose and entertaining showcase for another unique vocal talent of Bill's. And I like how it seemed to derail the whole show to the point where they didn't want to bother with the rest of their interview questions. That's like an early Letterman thing too. Before we were recording, I was just killing time just watching an old dumb ads clip on YouTube from 86 Letterman, and he was saying to his producer, yeah, I know you say I only got 1 minute left, but we're gonna do all these. We don't care which guests get on and don't get on. Who wants to see an insurance guy on this show anyway? But you know, it was a by consensus thing. So
I love when his interviews get kind of loose. Of course, with the way Bill is, he's very easy to derail an interview. Number 7.
His Reddit AMA. Reddit. If you have any doubts that Bill Hader is the sweetest and most down-to-earth celebrity ever, then you should go and take a look at his Reddit AMA from 2013. Not many famous faces would take time out of their day to interact with their fans, let alone dedicate an entire Reddit page to their questions and queries. But Hader is a different breed. Some of the highlights include Hader addressing a Tumblr page dedicated to his poor wardrobe choices, or lack thereof, tips for fans on how to respectfully approach him in public, his admiration for former SNL castmates, and the time he revealed the ending of Titanic to a theater full of sorority girls. Now that is a spoiler of blockbuster proportions.
You can actually find this still online. Pretty typical Reddit AMA. A lot of the questions that are asked are pretty respectful, wonderfully funny, and sometimes touching answers.
Yeah, I agree. On the surface, it may seem pretty strange to include what's essentially just a text-only online fan Q&A. Its justification for being in this spot on this list is how it shows Bill's just genuine kindness and an appreciation for his regular everyday fans who may not get many chances in their lives to interact with him directly. And plus, it's one of the rare few times, possibly the only time, Bill was ever online or on any form of social media.
So we're on to number 6.
His Arnold Schwarzenegger impression with Conan O'Brien. It may come as a surprise to some, but Bill Hader started out as a production assistant in Hollywood before discovering he had a knack for comedy. But one of the films he worked on featured action hero and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's clear that Hader's subconscious was taking notes.
And bugs are coming around, they're like... and he's like...
The funny man has shared his impressions with talk show host Conan O'Brien more than once, and each time his delivery of the former bodybuilder was spot on. Most of the interview clips have had a deepfake edit makeover, pasting Arnold's face onto Bill's, but they are shockingly effective.
I'm 4.5, father. You got to get out of here. Get out of this. There's a bomb in there. Get out.
While simultaneously creepy and hilarious, they only add to the performance, making them one of the best impressions around.
And that was
And this one, and this series of clips has my favorite one when he's talking about his daughter Harper, because at the time he had just his two daughters, Hannah and Harper. Haley came around after Trainwreck. Hannah was 4.5 and Harper was 2.
Is this being passed on to
Yes.
children?
Our 2-year-old right now, I'll say, how old are you? And she goes, I'm 4.5, which is her older sister's 4.5. And I go, no, you're not. You're not 4.5. And then she grabs my face and goes, 4.5.
That was also kind of a Schwarzenegger a little bit.
Yeah. I'm 4.5, father. I need to pull up on now. And we're going to watch Peppa Pig. Come on.
I love Schwarzenegger as a baby.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
I want to watch Doc McStuffins. And then I need my yogurt. Come on. I threw up. I need Pedialyte.
One thing I've always wondered with the Schwarzenegger stuff is like, because I know he's been on Jimmy Fallon recently, promoting a new show. It's like, has no one ever just gotten them two together as a reunion, or even asked Arnold if he remembers Bill?
Yeah, that does feel like something that would have happened by now. We did talk about the 2005 Conan debut, rather, which wasn't necessarily the true highlight of that one, but still nice for how it gives some insight into Bill's pre-SNL Hollywood PA career. I do have to say the 2018 one is much funnier, as it seems like he's had some time to develop this impression specifically for an appearance on his favorite talk show host show. We all know what big Schwarzenegger fans Conan and Bill are and how much they love to riff on him, and Robert Smigel too. I can't say the deep fake was entirely necessary, but the clips stand up on their own. So
yeah, the deepfake was sort of a thing for about a year or two, because there's also another one of him doing Tom Cruise as well. So it's just something that they were using at the time. I haven't really seen it much then since. It's very interesting to see how Bill Hader on talk shows has evolved over the years, from his very first appearance on Conan, where he's basically practically floating off the chair. And then the most recent one, which was him quoting the fourth season of Barry, when he's talking to Jimmy Kimmel about RuPaul's Drag Race, about being arrested. And just over the years, he's become a lot more comfortable. Another thing about the Schwarzenegger bit is he was actually briefly in the movie, but his part got cut. Because what had happened there was the person who was supposed to play the airplane pilot, for some reason didn't show up. And Bill was the one who actually fit the uniform.
How much time we got? 3 or 4 hours, depending on the weather.
On to number 5.
When he showed us how much he loves his children. Variety. The only thing that would make us adore this funny man even more is finding out he's a devoted family man to boot. Hader made the planet collectively aww when an article for Variety revealed he had barely seen his 3 daughters during an entire summer due to an extremely busy work schedule. The fact of the matter was so upsetting that the star apparently broke down during the interview. He quickly picked up the pieces, however, and joked about it moments later, telling the reporter he planned on staying home the following year, stating, quote, "They can see me all day if they want. They can really get sick of me." Now that is a great dad.
It's very well known how much he loves his 3 daughters, Hannah, Harper, and Haley. I believe his oldest, Hannah, is like in high school now. If you've watched Barry at the end of Barry, is his production company is called Hanarpley, which is a portmanteau of the girls' names, and his title card at the end of Barry was actually drawn by his daughters.
Oh, that's nice.
My other favorite story that he's told was about Hannah was big into princess stuff.
The 5-year-old, she walks around like a princess. Sophia the First, I don't know if you guys know this show, Sophia the First. I wake up to it every morning. And my daughter walks around as like a princess, and she will walk in. I go, oh, hello, Hannah, how are you? And she'll, you know. And then she's like, I'm going to make my breakfast. And I was like, oh, good for you. And then she walked into our pantry, and she saw we had no cereal, and I just hear her go, At 5 years old. And then she came out as a princess. She was like, whoa, where are Fruity Pebbles? Where are the Fruity Pebbles? I'm not kidding. I was like, whoa, no. And then I went and I saw we had no Fruity Pebbles. I was like,
oh, that's where she's getting it.
It's been referenced a few times, not only with that clip, but there was a awards presentation when he got the Man of Style Award for the year, and he relates to how his kids were I think it was Harper called Hannah a fucking jerk. So he doesn't really have much filter when it comes to those swear words, but every time he talks about his children, you could just see him light up.
Another text-only piece included to show a genuinely human and relatable side to Bill, but this time as a father, which I'm sure many appreciate. It's also notable for how quickly it seems he bounced back from tearing up in this interview with the help of some slight self-deprecation. I think right after season 2 of Barry aired is when COVID hit. So I'm sure Bill would have had plenty of time to spend with his kids at home at that time. So, you know, hopefully things worked out well for him and his family there.
Yeah, because I believe that particular summer was when he had finished doing Barry, and then he went to Canada to do It Too. The other more recent thing regarding his daughter, so there's actually a really good playlist out there. Bill Hader being a sitcom dad for 10 years. So clips of various interviews where he's talking about his children. So his home wasn't destroyed by the Palisades fires, and strangely enough, both my 2 older sisters have both had incidents regarding fire. And even though the structure and everything is still there, there's so much smoke damage and soot, and there's things you never think you have to do, like cleaning your clothes, having to basically figure out what clothes you can save and get them deep cleaned, and all the things you have to throw out. And how, of course, his very first thought once he found out about the fires was, okay, are my kids okay? Just trying to be there for them, because I think Haley was asking, so why can't we go home? It's because, well, the home is not in good condition. So haven't heard anything about a new place yet. And I know him and his ex-wife Maggie Carey live very close to each other, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be consideration when they each do. Because I'm not sure if her house survived or not. The skill he has of co-parenting with his daughters, and with Carey, and also now we have Ali Wong in the mix because they've both met each other's children. They all get along, so I'm very confident for the future of Bill and Ali. So apparently I caught a thing on X recently where someone overheard him saying that Ali Wong is his soulmate.
That's very nice.
Yeah, I think this relationship's going to last a while. Now we go on to number 4.
Star Wars impressions. Conan. Even if he wasn't a super fan of the sci-fi series, he is. We're pretty sure these imitations would be spot on either way. During a 2014 appearance on Conan, Bill and the talk show host discussed the then upcoming Star Wars trilogy series and what Bill would do for a role in J.J. Abrams' film. It was the perfect setup for him to start executing his well-crafted and hysterically accurate impressions of a dying Jabba the Hutt and Tauntaun. Although he didn't end up getting cast as any of those characters in The Force Awakens, Hader was able to get the next best thing and served as a vocal consultant for the droid BB-8.
The Tauntaun impression, a classic, along with the Jabba the Hutt, which he has used on several occasions. He's done that impression 3 times on Conan in 2007, 2014 and 2021 in the interview with Conan for when his TBS show was shutting down. Did a very similar thing to what Saturday Night Live does, auditions for like Back to the Future and other films like that.
Mm-hmm.
They did a thing for Comic-Con where he was basically doing a bunch of auditions for young Han Solo.
Name, please. Bill Hader. Okay, so he's young, right? Okay.
I want to do the Kessel Run in 16 parsecs, Mom.
Can we try that?
No notes!
Here's young Tauntaun. Young Tauntaun. This is a skateboard. And, you know what I could do is young Jabba the Hutt. Young Jabba the Hutt's like... Young Chewbacca is hey guys, when I hit puberty, you better watch out.
Chewbacca doesn't talk like
No!
Weirdly, I hadn't seen this particular Conan clip from 2014 prior to getting my notes together for this podcast, and yet I feel like I have, since I know I've seen him do his Jabba the Hutt voice in Knocked Up and at Chapter 2, and during the next segment that's on this list that we'll get to. And I did recognize the dying Tauntaun noise as one of Stefan's club names, but it was still fun. I'd say it deserves to be on this list, but I might not have placed it this time myself.
I think I would have been more of an honorable mention, personally.
Number 3, The President of Hollywood. Comedy Central roast of James Franco.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of Hollywood.
If you were to combine multiple stereotypes about the entertainment industry and package it into human form, this would be the result.
Before I start, I just want to say to everyone up here, you're welcome.
Which is exactly what Bill must have planned when he agreed to perform at James Franco's roast.
Looking forward to your new show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Funny cops. You're always pushing the envelope, Andy.
Decked out in a white wig, red tracksuit, and 70s shades, Hader performed his bit as the President of Hollywood, ripping into each person on stage with one zinger after another.
Aziz, I admire how you've never taken the stereotypical Indian roles. I just want to tell you that if you did, you would make so much more money.
Not only was his delivery impeccable, but also his material, a perfect combination of edgy and goofy, never fell flat and had the entire room roaring with laughter until the very end.
But I know it hasn't always been easy for you, James. You overcame a crippling childhood affliction known as dumbface.
This is one that strangely, even though it's based on a roast, speaks to Bill Hader's kindness. Because he was the only one who actually came out as a character and not roasting as himself. Well, he has worked with James Franco through various films and on Saturday Night Live, as well as the Saturday Night documentary in 2019. In interviews regarding this, he has said that he doesn't do any jokes about the female people on the dais, and because he doesn't want to be disrespectful to them. Because he grew up around a lot of women, because his mother, his 2 grandmothers, and his 2 older sisters, so he grew up with a really significant respect for women, which probably just makes him that just more charming. Unfortunately, they don't have the full clip online. He does actually do a joke later about himself, which is kind of rather hilarious. This character that he did for the roast actually was partly inspired the character of Joey Wallach, which was the final 2 episodes of season 2 of documentary Now, based on Kid Stays in the Picture. So this was Mr. Runner-Up, My Life as an Oscar's Bridesmaid. And so that's the persona that he towards that on documentary Now. Now, granted, that episode is mostly voiceover and still pictures, but there's actually some, it just shows how completely inside a character that he can get, because I just imagine this guy has to be real somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, well, he was real at some point in the distant past, and And, he was clearly Robert Evans. Definitely deserving of its spot on this list in my book. It's at the perfect place because it wouldn't rank it much higher than 3, in my honest opinion, because this is literally the only time in the modern Jeff Ross era of Comedy Central Netflix roast that I've seen someone make a character piece roast segment work through sheer commitment that's done to a bit that's done entirely in good faith. I mean, we've seen like Andy Dick, Jeff Garland do kind of half-ass versions of these character roasts, but Bill went all the way with it and really he really added the gravitas that this roast and that type of bit at a roast needed. And maybe Sandberg also shares the same respect for women that Bill Hader does. He make comments addressed to the women on the dais. I remember him saying, I hate to break it to you, Sarah Silverman, you're getting kind of old. You know who else is getting old? My mom. I'm afraid she's going to die soon. What's that going to be like? And he said Natasha Leggero's a virtual unknown at this point, but tonight me and her are getting paid the same amount of money, and she laughed at that. And yeah, I think I remember people accusing Andy Samberg of ripping off Norm Macdonald in the Bob Saget roast, where he just told a bunch of corny 30s joke books to bomb on purpose in the way that only Norm can, until the audience came around on it, saw what he was doing, and was on his side. Norm loved Bob Saget, didn't want to roast him, just like Bill didn't want to roast any of the women.
One joke in here that really doesn't quite still land as well as it did at the time, because there's a mention of a grape joke. So that was not exactly my favorite joke of the whole thing. Part where he makes fun of himself is probably my favorite bit, where it says, oh yeah, so Bill Hader, where did that guy go? So he's the guy who comes in and say, oh, you should really follow her to Hawaii and try and get her back. And then, okay, thanks, Bill, fuck off for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he plays the best friend of the male lead who has like 2 lines of expository dialogue and disappears for the rest of the film. That's his niche at that time.
Which was basically forgetting Sarah Marshall. Okay, number 2.
Revealing what made him break on SNL, Late Night with Seth Meyers. As previously mentioned, Hader was often known for breaking character during his time on Saturday Night Live.
210 episodes. I was nervous for every one of them, and I'm nervous now!
After hosting an episode in 2018, he opened up on Late Night with Seth Meyers about 2 particular instances during the evening and why they had him cracking up uncontrollably.
You said, my girlfriend... because my girlfriend works at Yoshinoya Beef Bowl.
Well, the first moment was obviously during one of his wacky Stefan skits. The second happened when he played a geriatric old man on a motorized wheelchair.
You know what? No.
Hader ended up not only backing into some props during the scene, but also dragging cast member Melissa Villaseñor along with them.
You should be ashamed of yourselves.
In Bill's defense, however, the sheer ridiculousness of that sketch would have had anyone tearing up with laughter.
Well, it was bad because I backed up and I knew I hit something, but I didn't know what it was. And I could hear Melissa behind me going, "It's me."
Hader's breaking is definitely part of why he's so awesome, because he's having as much fun as we are.
This interview is related to his second appearance hosting Saturday Night Live, where he did the quick change in the monologue, which I thought was quite awesome. In the Girlfriend's Game Night sketch, what I call the Hader hide, purposely hides behind Cecily Strong. Did the same thing in a Herb Welch sketch with Kenan Thompson. This also happens with Barry as well, because there's a scene in season 2 where he's finishing training the Chechens, and when NoHo Hank is expressing how all the guys are going to miss you, thanks for all the training, and he's trying to have a heartfelt moment, and then the accordion player they had there breaks in, and he starts blasting that guy, and you can see Bill turning his head, seen on the roof. He can't look at them, and he ruins a lot of takes with.
I have seen this clip and the sketches they talk about in it, and I do say it deserves to be this high on the list, even, again, if I would rank it a bit lower, because it does do a perfect job of illustrating how breaking character in a live SNL sketch only works if it's a genuine reaction to an unexpected occurrence or something going wrong, and which is, a basic tenet of the show that Lorne held that he relayed to Hader at one point, and it just provides some wholesome backstage SNL trivia in general.
There are some honorable mentions. So I'm just gonna play the whole honorable mention section, and then we'll go to comments from there. Because there are some things I'll kind of switch around based on the honorable mentions.
Let's look through some honorable mentions, and then we'll see the top time Bill Hader was awesome.
Lorne Michaels, Conan, a hilariously dark imitation of SNL's famed creator.
I went to Kansas City with Alec and Marcy to try to get BTK Killer off death row.
The Underdog, off camera with Sam Jones, reminds us that the path to success is not always the one we planned.
I moved out here to be a filmmaker, to make movies and write movies, and nothing was happening for 6 years.
Being open about his mental health struggles, Child Mind Institute. Hader offers a candid account of his lifelong anxiety along with some sage advice.
Instead of pushing that thing away and trying to fight it, I would just go, hey, buddy. It was like a little monkey, and I would just kind of go, okay, here, let's sit on my shoulder, let's hang out.
Chatting it up with John Mulaney, the 92nd Street Y. Watching these two SNL greats shoot the breeze would make anyone's day.
I was lucky enough to find a guy like John that when I would perform in one of our sketches, it was kind of like I'm just performing to John. Like, I just want to make John laugh.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, like...
This bit with Lorne Michaels, talked about serial killers, absolute favorite Bill Hader impressions, taking a simple concept, putting a weird premise on it, and just going from there.
I have seen the Conan Lorne serial killer bit and the anxiety mental health struggles clip. I haven't seen the whole Sam Jones interview or the whole John Mulaney interview. I mean, I know they're honorable mentions, but I do wish they would have provided a little bit more context for each of these. Even not having seen all the Sam Jones interview, I kind of get what the context is for that.
That interview is actually available on Spotify. That's in my Bill Hader podcast playlist called We Hard Hader, available on Spotify, where he said about how path to becoming a writer-director took an unusual turn. In a way, sometimes fate puts you towards things where you should be. In more recent interviews, without having been on SNL, he would not have been able to become a director. Because there was one time when he was talking to Chris Rock about how he liked to direct. It was like, you could totally direct, because you've pretty much done everything here, because you're producing a sketch, so you go over everything from like costumes and sets and all the other design. The only thing that's different is you're working with a cinematographer. So it just sort of, not only that, plus his experience as a PA, comment thread about working with Bill Hader, about how respectful he is to all the cast and crew, trying to keep shoot days down to no more than 8 to 10 hours. He's been through what PAs have been through as well. When he's talking about the people he's worked with, he won't just say the cinematographer or this. He'll actually mention people specifically by name just to make sure that he gives credit to where credit is due. The 92nd Street Y, I've watched several times. Personal favorite little bit of that is when he's talking about his daughters being able to text him.
The oldest one can now, and it's insanity.
Does she do it a lot?
The unicorn. That can mean anything.
To her, it's a code.
Yeah.
I sent you 5 fucking unicorns.
I'm hungry. You gotta pick me up from volleyball, fuckhead. 5 unicorns is I need to get picked up from volleyball.
If the Yakuza is holding me, I will
It's
send
6
you
unicorns.
3 unicorns.
3 unicorns and a shit emoji means the Yakuza's holding.
All right? Don't call the cops. Whatever you do, don't call the cops.
You called the cops, it was 2 shit emojis. Oh, we could do this all day.
We could and we will.
And it's a very fun and entertaining interview. There's also one for documentary now. They're there to promote Barry, but of course, everything just basically goes down to talking about all the stuff on SNL. Child Mind Institute one. Gonna get a little bit serious here. But I also struggle with a lot of anxiety. Not so much with performing, because when I can, I do love to perform. So it's something I have confidence in, but I have a lot of social anxiety. Just a couple weeks ago, Costco with my boyfriend, I had a panic attack due to various reasons. And there is an extended interview available online. This clip in particular, the techniques that he mentions in this, I've actually used.
What helped me was learning that it doesn't really go away. You manage it. And instead of pushing away your anxiety, and I always imagine my anxiety as this little monster that would kind of attack my face or pull up my ears or, and instead of pushing that thing away and trying to fight it, I would just go, hey, buddy. It was like a little monkey, and I would just kind of go, okay, here, let's sit on my shoulder, let's hang out, let's just chill out, there it is. And so every time I would get nervous, I would just become friends with it. I know that sounds kind of corny maybe, or a little silly, but it's true. It helped it kind of alleviate, that fear. And so I don't push it away, put your arm around it and go, oh, there you are.
It's just really made a big difference in how I deal with my anxiety. Another part that he mentions in that is taking the narrative out of it, where it's, I'm anxious because there's too much noise in the Costco and I can't find where the car batteries are. And so we just say, I'm anxious or I'm angry. So just remove the context of it, feel the feelings, and go with that. So, and I will say that there's been a few times, one particular technique I have used. The first time that I did it was my father's memorial. We had some trouble because for some reason my boyfriend thought he could wear like more casual clothes to a funeral. It was like, no, a sweatshirt is not the same thing as a sweater. And no, you're not wearing sweatpants to a memorial. That's just not done that way. And we're having trouble also finding the place where the memorial was. And of course, I was starting to have a panic attack. So what I did was I just took myself aside, and there's a compilation of Bill Hader laughing. Being able to play that and concentrate on that got me out of my head, got me to be able to calm down. I was sort of waffling whether I wanted to say anything at my dad's memorial if I get too emotional, because I remember how emotional I got when my mother died back in 92, 93. Because I was able to use the laugh to calm me down, there's a song by the Irish Rovers that I sang for my dad a cappella, and everyone else seemed to enjoy it. So that kind of gave me the courage to do that tribute to my father. Now, being able to have Bill there as basically a source of comfort, because Bill Hader's laugh is infectious. You can't help but be happy when you hear Bill Hader laugh.
Yeah, I'll say that removing the context from your feelings does sound like something. It's making me realize that may be something I subconsciously do sometimes without even really realizing it or thinking about it.
And number 1.
Meeting Keith Morrison, Sunday Today with Willie Geist. A surprise introduction to one's idol would be a surreal experience for anyone, including a big name like Bill Hader. It's a well-known fact that Hader is an avid fan of Dateline, along with the show's longtime correspondent Keith Morrison, having parodied the latter in multiple SNL sketches.
Diego confessed, but let's ignore that. Because this is an hour show, so we've got to stretch this out.
After being invited to visit one of the program's editing bays during an interview on Sunday Today with Willie Geist, Hader is beyond delighted when the journalist pops into the office for an impromptu meeting.
I don't know how you get better than Keith Morrison! I knew he was going to be here! I knew he was going to be here! Oh my God, wow, oh my gosh.
Hader is visibly starstruck and overjoyed at encountering such an icon.
Larry David, there's so many of us, we're like massive fans of yours, and we'll always be like, you see what Keith Morrison, I mean, you're just I'm super...
We can't help but collectively share in his infectious delight as we watch the comedian turn into a total fanboy in front of a true crime legend.
No one tells a story like Dateline. Or do they?
That's so rad.
What is more relatable and awesome than getting super excited when you meet one of your idols?
They do say you never meet your heroes, but Keith Morrison's Canadian, so it's going to be a good experience because that's just how we Canadians are. And just to see the sheer delight of meeting him in person, doing that promo, it's another case where you just can't help but be amused. And he's doing this one thing was sort of very enthusiastic, kind of a little bit shy about this because he's in the presence of what he considers royalty.
I had seen this whole Keith Morrison Willie Geist clip in its entirety, but what was included here does look quite fun, and I did enjoy Bill's Keith Morrison impression on SNL, and it's fun to see Bill Hader or anyone else geek out over meeting their idol, who is which obviously is the reason he played him on SNL. Personally, may not have made this number one. I know if you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, well, Casey keeps saying I would have ranked this lower, I would have ranked this higher, I wouldn't have included this on the list. Casey, how would you do this list yourself if you think you know a better way to arrange it? Well, here is how I would have arranged this list. 10, the actor activity impressions from Ellen's show. 9, New York accent impressions from Deej Samaro. 8, Reddit AMA for 2013. 7, President of Hollywood from the James Franco roast. 6, Lorne Michaels impression from Conan 2019. 5, revealing what made him break on Seth Meyers 2018. 4, meeting Keith Morrison on Sunday Today with Willie Geist. 3, when he showed us how much he loves his children for Vanity Fair. 2, the underdog on Off Camera with Sam Jones 2014. The honorable mentions would have just been the Star Wars impressions 2014 and chatting up with John Mulaney at the 92nd Street Y 2019. And number one for me would be being open about his mental health struggles to the Child Mind Institute in 2019. It's a healthy, respectable mix of genuine interview moments, and liked it for its diversity between silly fun moments and serious life affirming moments.
Yeah, because they did specify at the beginning where they're saying that there's other lists for his characters or other roles in movies and stuff, and this is mainly just focusing on real, genuine moments with Bill Hader. One thing I would put on instead of the Reddit AMA, very similar to him meeting Keith Morrison. This is from the 2009 Writers Guild Awards ceremony. This includes him fanboying over Ron Howard.
Thank you guys. Hi, Ron. Yeah, fucking Ron Howard's right there. Holy shit. Dude, you're great, man.
That's
oh my
actually,
God.
That's actually him.
Oh my God, it's Ron Howard.
Hi, Ron.
All right. Also, Parenthood was a fucking awesome movie, man. That's like one of my favorite movies. Backdraft, Willow. I mean, the fucking.
Did you see Ed TV?
Yeah. No, I saw Ed TV.
They're all good.
All right.
Also, we should thank HBO. Amy Gravitt,
Thank
who's
you,
over
Amy.
there. HBO. People always ask when you start working somewhere, writers always ask, how are the notes? Like, that's always a terrible, awful thing, and how do you skirt them, and how do you avoid them? And I have to say, HBO has truly been a supportive partner, and I look forward to sending outlines and drafts and cuts to HBO because we genuinely want to know what they think.
They're the only people that we could be like, it's a hitman who wants to be an actor, and they just start throwing money at us.
So anyway, thank you guys, and thank Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, man!
Thank you guys.
Night shift?
Just a genuine joy of people that just randomly in the middle of an acceptance speech for a award, just like, oh, here's one of my film heroes. And there's of course the Henry Winkler connection, where the first movie that he did after Happy Days was Night Shift, which was directed by Ron Howard and starred Henry and with him and Michael Keaton and he specifically wanted to play the role that he played because it's completely different. Fonzie was like at the time, and unfortunately I can't find it on streaming without having to pay for it, but I do remember that being one of my favorite movies of the 80s.
Yeah, well, thanks for showing that clip, Deej. It was I did like Bill geeking out toward Ron Howard just by, at one point he just starts listing his entire directing resume to him in the middle of his own speech in public, which is fun to see. So I like seeing that. So thanks, Deej, for throwing in a genuine surprise into this podcast last second. I've thought of a few moments where I thought Bill was awesome like that. There was the Seth Meyers interview from 2014, where they talk about how he tried to get his impression of Bob Simon from 60 Minutes on the air, and that bombed so hard they bailed mid-sketch.
And it was about jaguar poaching.
Jaguars. Yes. And I would say, hello, I'm Bob Simon. Sometimes here at 60 Minutes, you pull the short straw. If Fortunia's wheel does not roll your way. When I heard about my new assignment, I thought, where am I going? The White House? The Capitol, perhaps? No, I was sent 8,000 miles away to hellhole Africa to cover jaguar poachers. Yeah, it was like, I packed my bags in my spacious apartment in the East 40s near the tunnel.
Yeah, Daniel Craig, and he really thought about his character. He was really good, and he was yeah, he was really good. He put a lot of thought into his character, and Keenan was the guy who was the
jaguar poacher. I go, so you're a jaguar poacher? I go, what do you do? He goes, I killed a jaguar. And I go, oh, those are jaguars? I go, I've been calling them spotty cats. I've been hitting it with my car ever since I landed at the airport.
I liked it for the impression, and again for the backstage SNL trivia. Any interview where Bill just recites an entire unaired sketch from memories is something I'll always enjoy. And also the Kevin Pollak chat show podcast where he describes how the Casey and JC Kasem sketch down, and also a Conan clip from two Conan clips actually. One from, I believe, 2014, where he does his impressions of Jason and Kristen and Fred. Yes. And he does his impression of Fred's impression of him. And then in 2015, where he did his impression of Conan, that was just Conan O'Brien. Save those for another Watch Mojo themed episode.
Exactly. So I had a lot of fun with it. So now that we've had that experiment, what do you have on our docket for next episode?
Well, our next episode, we've taken a break from SNL season 32, but we're going to go back to it for a bit as we do a full-length review of the Shia LaBeouf and Avril Lavigne episode from March 2007, I believe. Picked this one, had one of Bill's big standout moments in a digital short, which went viral, so a big standout viral moment for Bill. I was thinking of which digital shorts had good Bill moments in them, and this one came to mind, so another sketch in there that we have to talk about. And
so here's your certificate of responsibility.
Good work, guy. And also I'd like to mention that
is our first Watch Mojo experience. I had a great time. Apparently Casey did too, so great. So, as usual, I'm Deej Barons and will continue to be.
And I will still be Casey Killingsworth until I am informed otherwise.
And because Bill Hader is awesome, is why we heart Hader.
We watch and heart Hader.
All right, until next episode. Thank you for listening to We Heart Hader. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We Heart Hader is a presentation of Wacky Notion Productions. Created by Deej Barons. Hosted by Deej Barons and Casey Killingsworth. Recording and editing by Deej Barons. Intro and outro music by Music Unlimited, used under Creative Commons license, courtesy of pixabay.com.